Today we are meeting Farah Yurdözü from Turkey and we'll be talking about UFO and some ancient history. Hello Farah.
Hi, thank you very much for this invitation, and I really cannot believe that I'm really in Warsaw. We call Warsaw in our language. So as I said today in my lecture, I always wanted to visit this country. I always wanted to see Warsaw. The reason is that since I was a little girl, I have been a fan of Frederick Chopin.
Yeah, sorry for the interruption. Warszawa is in Polish, so it's
Warsaw.
like Warszawa.
Okay. So,
Yeah, so
this
like
is a dream
Turkish.
for me. It's unbelievable. I'm so happy. And I'm so happy that I met you. Also, the conference is going very well. Still, they are keeping downstairs. And it was excellent. Everything excellent. And I'm very happy to get such a wonderful reaction from the public. Everything is excellent. Yes.
Because the audience is already prepared for this kind of stuff.
Amazing, yes.
It's advanced stuff and...
I hope they liked.
Yeah.
I hope they liked my lecture today. I really hope. Yeah.
Okay, tell us something about your background. When was the first time you got interested in this kind of stuff?
Okay, as I said today at the beginning of my lecture, my official education is Spanish language. So I have a degree as a Spanish language teacher from Istanbul University and also from Spanish government, and also certified from American Board of Education. I started to have an interest to this subject since I was very little, since I was 6 years old. Because in my own family, in my mother's side, there are so many cases, there are so many experiences. First of all, my grandfather's generation, let's say, they were very open-minded about these subjects. And it is something that it exists in Turkish races' DNA. I mean, you were here today during my lecture. After so many stories, isn't it clear that Turkish people is very open-minded? Because
Yes.
it is in our life. It is in our mythology. It is in our history. The thing is that paranormal cases, esoteric, or UFO-related or spiritual topics always existed in Turkish land. And I guess it is in our DNA. Really, I really believe that. So, so interesting. My grandmother's father, maternal side, was a university teacher, university professor at Istanbul University, but I'm talking about 19th century. Okay, he was teaching law, mathematics, and French. So this is Ottoman Empire.
Yes.
As you know, Ottoman Empire had a very large territory, and they were sending government officials, sometimes to Balkans, to Europe, sometimes to Middle East. So they decided to send my mother's grandfather to Iraq.
Mother's grandfather, yeah. Okay, Iraq.
Yeah, my grandmother's father. And this is 1830, something like this, 1830 or 1835, as a teacher, of course. And he was already married in Istanbul, and he had 5 children. One of the children is my grandmother. And as you know, in those times, people were married with multiple children when they were 35 years old, and they were already considered old.
Okay.
He was something 35 years old, married with 5 children, and had to go to Iraq. But he couldn't take all his family. He left them
It was
here.
too expensive.
Yeah, of course, because I mean, he was working as a university teacher, and his salary wasn't a big salary. So he went to Iraq by himself. He rented a house, and he started to work, but by himself. And he was also sending money to Istanbul. So he was living in Iraq and sending money to Istanbul. He was in a difficult situation. But in those times, all these people were able to speak Arabic, Farsi, Ottoman, and French, multi-language.
And Turkish was written also in Arabic letters.
Arabic. But it is spoken Turkish, and reading is Turkish. Just they were using the Arabic alphabet. but the language was Turkish. So one morning, he goes out in order to go to his office, to school, and an Arab man, an old Arab man, is waiting for him, just like in the movies. My great-grandfather doesn't know him. He greets him in Arabic, and the old man says that, good morning, or whatever, I don't know how they greet in those times. You don't know me, but I know you. I know your name, this is your name, and I know that you have a family, children, and I know that you are having economical problems. And how do you know? Don't ask me.
So he was a spy.
I don't know. And he says, I would like to help you. You're a nice man. And he gives him a big rosary, you know,
Yes.
to pray. He says,
Christian rosary.
Actually, Islamic people use this rosary too.
Okay.
Catholic people use this, Christian people, Islamic people use this rosary too. He gives a big rosary, I think 1,000 beads, the big one, because they are used for special rituals.
Mantras.
Yeah, we have something, we call it zikir. It is mantra zikir for us. And he says, you know what, tonight, pray with this rosary, and read this prayings he gives them. And wait. And don't be afraid. Be patient. And my great-grandfather goes to school, comes back home, and in the same evening, he does whatever the guy instructs, and he goes to bed. And I would like to remind you that he's living alone. There's nobody else in the house. After a while, the bedroom door opens and two beings comes inside. So, they have reptilian eyes, yellow, irises like that, and they are half human, half animal. They don't have any clothes, but they have some parts are covered with like a turtle shell.
Yes.
Some parts a little bit fur. I mean, like human, between human.
Crust.
Yeah, something like that. And one of them stays at the end of the bed. The other one goes there. And they start a kind of communication between each other without speaking. You know, the ninja...
And he was between them.
Yeah, between them. And of course, my great-grandfather is in shock. He is so much scared. And he starts to shake. He's shaking so much that heavy iron bed is shaking. And he starts to repeat the same prayers from reverse in order to send them away. So he manages to send them away, but they are very angry because they say, you invited us, you opened the Stargate, and we came, we accepted your invitation, and now you are sending us back. And before they leave the room, they look at him and telepathically they tell him, from you to 3 generations. From you to 3 generations. I am the 3rd generation. So this is how it started with me.
Okay.
Yeah, so he was the 1st generation. The next morning, he goes outside and the old guy is waiting for him on the same corner. He says, stupid of you. Give me back my rosary. I hope that you will be an intelligent man. I wanted to help you, but you missed a big opportunity. And after a while, he goes back to Istanbul, and meanwhile, his 5 children suddenly develops paranormal psychic abilities. So, in my ancestors, there were many psychics, and when there are psychics, there are paranormal experiences. They lived in haunted houses. I lived in haunted houses. So since very little, I started to read about spiritual aspects, and I had my UFO encounters, and this is how it happened. This is how it started with me, yes.
Okay, so what was the most interesting encounter?
Okay, actually, you know what? I had a UFO encounter, of course, many years ago. What I saw was in Istanbul, and it was on the beach. I was looking from the window, so in that time we were living in a place very close to the seashore. So it was a huge sphere. You know the Volkswagen cars?
Yeah.
That size, imagine, but floating on top of the sand. It was perfect circular shape.
Metallic or light?
No, red, glowing red, like phosphorescent, but very bright red. So this was my first UFO encounter. After that, I started to read and investigate in order to find out more things. And also, when I was living in the United States, I was in the talents team of a paranormal television show for Discovery Channel. So it was about haunted houses. We were a team of investigators. We were going and spending one weekend in the real haunted houses, but not empty houses. Still families are living there. So we had very, very interesting experiences there, and we managed to get on the camera paranormal activities. So when we were sitting like this in a room, a clipboard from the table, it started to move and it dropped. And we saw it and we videotaped it. This kind of things, yes.
So physically, scientifically, how would you explain that? Like intervention from different dimensions, for example?
Okay, so first of all, imagine here we are sitting and there is a clipboard on the table. Nobody touches. And actually, it was in the middle of the room. So we were sitting like this. There was a table, and on top of the table there was a clipboard. So when we were speaking, it started to move and it dropped. So how can you explain it? It was one of the most haunted houses that we visited. So they want to communicate. They show their existence in some ways.
So these were people who left their bodies, or
okay.
Different.
You know what? It depends, because when we go to haunted houses, there are different layers. I don't want to use the terminology of ghost haunting or ghost hunters. I think they are digital traces of the spiritual beings. Yes, their body is already gone, maybe 60 years ago, maybe 6 years ago, it doesn't matter, but their memory, their intelligence is still there. It's like the fingerprints, but spiritual prints. So for them, for their mentality, for their reality, the activity is still going on.
Like their astral body?
Okay, more than astral body, it is the energy. We can call astral body because there are different dimensional bodies, but they leave a trace. And the good thing is that we were 4 psychics in that group. We were visiting each room alone with a cameraman, and we were not allowed to speak between each other in order to not to affect each other. So when we give our report, it was always the same thing.
Okay.
So it was always confirmation, but without speaking between each other.
So this encounter you would explain as visit of actually encounter by someone who lived there many years ago. But are there any similar situations which would be explained as visiting by someone who is interdimensional traveler or
that's something else.
Aliens?
Yeah, that's something else. For me, I had, of course, some experiences too, since very young age. Yes, I had some experiences too. And based on my own experience, I can say that the contact with the interdimensional beings, you can call them extraterrestrials or ultra-terrestrials, or the intelligence out of this world, wherever they are coming from. Maybe they are not coming from anywhere, they are here already. We are sharing the same environment.
Space, so-called.
Same space, or maybe same space but different dimensions.
Yeah.
Obviously, time to time, we get connection. Not all the time. Time to time, portals, stargates open and we see each other. So, yes, this encounters is like an engagement. It's like a contract. It's like an agreement. And most of the times, it starts very young age for a human being. They pick up their world friend, their earth friend, their friend from this planet, when the child is very young. Sometimes they pick up, they choose the person still when his or her mother is pregnant, before come to this world. And again, based on my experiences, I can say that they are following DNA groups. That's very clear. We already know that. And close encounters, abductions, or contacts always happen something like inheritance, genetically inheritance. From father it comes, or from mother as a bloodline, because they are following a bloodline. So if, let's say, if your father is abductee, there is a big possibility that you're an abductee, you're a candidate, and there is a big possibility that your child is going to be an abductee. And this is already agreed before you come to this world. And okay, that's so interesting. I don't know, what do you think about astrology? I'm not a professional astrologist, but I respect astrology, and it has been an important proof in my life. So there are expert astrologists everywhere. I know very little about astrology, but when they check the horoscope chart of a person, they already can see if he's an abductee or not, if he has a contract with them or not. That's so interesting, because for abduction or for contacts, there are so many confirmations that yes, this person's destiny, in this person's karma, there is a contact, and it never ends.
So you cannot say, stop, I don't want anymore.
No. I didn't see. Again, I mean, I know so many people, both in Turkey, both in the United States, from Europe, and also this kind of conferences, international conferences, is a wonderful place to meet new people. Imagine, I mean, so many cases, so many faces, so many stories, and if it is written, you cannot erase it. It is something interesting.
Might it mean that those people, those people's souls come from different planets?
Obviously, we cannot think that every soul, every origin is coming from the same dimension. It's impossible, because there wouldn't be variety of so many people in the world then. I mean, everybody is coming from a different world. Everybody has a different universe inside. But maybe all of us are wearing same, speaking same, eating same, but our real origin is, of course, very different. The other thing is that, for my case, I got so many informations. And sometimes it comes in your dreams, sometimes it comes in your daily life, and you live it. And they don't leave you alone. They don't leave you alone.
So can they be called also our guides if they help?
Well, okay, in some cases guides, in some cases stepmoms and stepdads, let's say. But yes, of course, they are companions. They are companions. Today we didn't have time in the lecture, but I know an artist from New York, David Huggins, and I wrote his biography as a book. He has been in contact with greys and hybrids since he was 8 years old. His life story is a wonderful study for abductions and for contacts. So his first contacts happened in the daytime, you know. He was living in a farm in an open area. And since he was 8 years old, he has been in contact. He has tons of stories. And the other thing is that since he was 18 years old, they used him as a father to many hybrid children, artificial face. And of course now he's almost 70 years old and that program is closed. They are not using him anymore in that way. But they are still in contact with him. And since his first experiences on the board on a UFO, he had a guide, a hybrid woman, half human, half gray, and she's called Crescent. Crescent was always with him, always showing him the way, what to do, how to do, whatever, in the underground facilities, in UFOs, sometimes in his own house. And when he was little, when David was little, Crescent was his mentor, his teacher, his guide, and later she became his lover, and later she became the mother of his children. So that's a very strong life story, very strong connections. And of course now David Huggins is an old gentleman with white hair, with 70 years old, and the Crescent is still sane. So there are some other main characters in his story, greys and hairy extraterrestrials. 70 years passed and they didn't change. They are still sane.
So they live
why?
Thousands of years.
There are many possibilities. Maybe they are not biological beings. Maybe the human flesh look, it's only an artificial hologram maybe. Maybe they are coming from another time level, right? Or maybe they are completely using a screen look.
So maybe these are the ancient gods.
What we call gods.
Like
gods.
Zeus, Jupiter,
oh, yeah,
whatever.
Of course. I mean, in most of the mythologies, the beings, as I told you today, in the conference, they say, we are gods, but please give us food and something to drink. So obviously you are not a spiritual being.
Protection and fight.
Yeah.
Because I am God, but I don't like that God.
So they were intelligent beings. I don't want to say human. Maybe they were not human, something else, but they were intelligent beings from another reality. But somehow they managed to exist on this planet.
And behave like parasites.
You know what? Who is the parasite? I'm not so sure. Everybody says that extraterrestrials came, extraterrestrials will come. No, actually they were always here. We came. Maybe we are the invaders. Who knows? Maybe they are the real owners of this planet. Maybe we are taking something from them. And again, I'm saying maybe. Possibility.
Okay. Have you heard about the reptilian races who live underground?
Okay, in Turkey, we have multiple underground cities. All over the Turkey, underground Turkey. So our official archaeology, official historians say that they were built 10,000 years ago. Actually, the history goes back to 12,000 years ago in Turkey. As you know, Göbekli Tepe was found. And history shows that the first civilization started there 12,000 years ago. So let's say that underground cities of Cappadocia, the region is called Cappadocia, was built 10,000 years ago. Nobody knows who built them.
Yeah.
And nobody knows what kind of a technology, what kind of engineering they used. Because it's such a perfect engineering. 26 floors underground, perfectly carved. Rooms and galleries, chambers, and big rooms, small houses. It's unbelievable. The funny thing is that you saw the pictures today I was
Yes.
showing. Layers and floors are connected to each other with steps, between the floors. Sometimes there are 10 stairs.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes there are more. And they are 10,000 years old, and they are still very strong, and we can use them. So our legends, our mythology says that an extraterrestrial race lived there. But did they make the underground cities? We don't know. Or did they come from somewhere? We don't know. But the local people, the native people of underground cities, in Turkey at least, it is the reptilians. So we believe that there is a reptilian kingdom. Another thing, you know what? Nothing is a coincidence in life.
Mm-hmm.
That's for sure. If you are in somewhere, there is a reason. If you were sent somewhere, there is a reason. I live in Istanbul. And I live in a town, part of Istanbul, called Kadıköy. So Kadıköy was the first settlement in that area. The old name is Kalkedon. And they say that, ancient historians say that, thousands of years ago, there was a temple in Kadıköy, in Kalkedon, and there lizard people lived. And today, Kadıköy's national symbol is lizard.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not surprised why I have been living there all my life and why I'm interested in the reptilian stories, yes.
In Poland we also have a special story about one of the first capital cities, Kraków.
Krakow, yes.
It has Wawel Hill
Mm-hmm.
with the big castle, big chakram,
Okay.
energetic chakram, very strong under Kraków,
Mm-hmm.
under Wawel, and then there is the main river, Vistula river, surrounds this also, almost, and there is a cave where there is a legend
Yeah.
about the dragon.
About the dragon. So, what the people makes a dragon? Of course, there's a possibility that it was a reptilian connection. So, dragons became a very important part of European mythology, European folklore, especially in medieval times. And obviously, it wasn't just dragon; it was something else.
Mm-hmm.
Here is the thing. We trace Anunnaki beings, okay?
Yeah.
Anunnaki.
The word Anunnaki means people from the skies.
People from the sky and from the underground. It has two names
Mm-hmm.
because, especially in Hittite mythology, gods are two groups. They are coming from the sky and they are coming from the underground.
Mm-hmm.
This is the meaning of the terminology. And everything starts in Sumer. Everything starts in Mesopotamia. So it moves to Turkey, which is called Asia Minor or Anatolia.
Mm-hmm.
So the reptilian power, reptilian power moves all Turkey, and Turkey was a part of Roman Empire. We were a state of Roman Empire. And ancient city of Ephesus, Roman city, was the center of Rome
Yes.
in Asia Minor. It was completely controlled by reptilians. Completely controlled by reptilians. Another ancient Roman city, Pergamon.
Mm-hmm.
It was the headquarters of reptilians. Now, this is so interesting. In Ephesus, Artemis worshipping, goddess Artemis worshipping,
Yes.
was the center, and there was a temple, Artemis temple. So in that time, Artemis Temple was a bank at the same time. So rich people, kings or traders, were keeping their money in the temple. So I guess worshipping the money expression comes from that. So it was the temple and it was the bank. And Artemis cult is a very violent cult because the Artemis goddess worshipping was based on animal and human sacrifices.
Mm-hmm.
That's for sure. That's scary.
Yes.
And another thing, Pergamon, another Roman city, ancient Roman city, the symbol is snakes and the Stargate. I showed it today.
Mm-hmm.
Stargate and two snakes. So all over Turkey there was a very strong reptilian power due to Roman Empire, because Roman Empire was under the control of reptilians.
And Alfa Romeo.
Oh yes, of course. Of course, the Alfa Romeo symbol, the giant snake eats the human. Yeah, I mean, yeah, of course. So later, Saint Paul, actually, the first Christian churches are in Turkey. But after Jesus Christ, Saint Paul, who was born in Turkey, in Tarsus,
Mm-hmm.
started to put together Christianity, and with his travels from Turkey to Rome. So I think that Christian religion was a hope, was a protection against reptilian Roman horror. Because as you know, Roman Empire was a horrible, violent empire.
Yes.
And they were controlled by the reptilians. So this is how Christianity was born, first in Turkey, and then it moved to Europe.
Mm-hmm.
But by the way,
But you are talking about the 1st century or 4th century, 325?
yeah, in that time,
Constantine the Great.
yes. He comes later,
Okay. Yeah.
yes. Another thing is that when Artemis temple was demolished, was gone, reptilians lost a lot of power.
Mm-hmm.
So Ephesus,
Because no more sacrifice,
no
no more
sacrifice,
energy.
no more energy, because first Christians banned all that kind of pagan practices,
Mm-hmm.
what we call pagan practices. It was forbidden. So what happens? That reptilian power didn't stop, didn't
It created
die.
secret societies.
It created secret societies and it moved to United States.
But you are talking.
No, I'm talking later, of course, not then.
Yeah.
I'm giving you the compact story.
Yeah,
Fast forward.
Uh-huh.
So New York City is the reincarnation
Yes.
of Ephesus.
Okay, but in between Templar Knights were
Yeah.
also part of
Yeah,
it.
of course, obviously. Secret societies are directly linked to them, to this.
So they pretended kind of being religious,
Yeah.
but did the other way around.
They were religious in their own way.
Mm-hmm.
So there's, of course...
So London is the like next Babylon.
Yeah.
London.
Yeah.
And New York City.
New York is completely a reincarnation of Ephesus. And of course, the Artemis cult is the Statue of Liberty.
Yes. And
It's still there.
ISIS.
Yeah, it's ISIS.
The
yeah.
same.
It's ISIS, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Okay, always, as you know, in esoteric traditions, goddess is depicted, is shown with two pillars.
yes,
And
those in Solomon's temple.
Solomon's temple.
Two
yeah.
towers.
Two towers, twin towers.
Twin towers.
I mean, twin towers and Statue of Liberty is face to face. And as we said, Tiamat, goddess, comes from the sea. So Statue of Liberty is on the sea, as you know.
Ellis Island. L.
Yeah,
Is.
El, yeah.
L and is like ISIS.
Yes, and
Mhm.
so it seems that September 11th, I mean,
Yeah.
Twin Towers disaster was
11 is.
yeah, it was a huge ritual sacrifice.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the name of the goddess.
And the energy of trauma goes to those reptilians, supported by archons, maybe?
Well, this is what we see. Every human fear,
Yeah.
big or small, is feeding reptilian energy.
Yeah, it's called lush.
I don't know.
Trauma, yeah. It's
I
in
don't know.
English, lush.
Okay. So, I don't want to say that reptilians are vampires, they are coming and drinking our blood. I'm not saying something like this. But our emotions are very strong.
Mm-hmm.
It has a real power, good or bad.
Just power.
In both ways.
Just power, yeah.
Yeah. So they are feeding from human emotions.
Mm-hmm.
Fear, desperate, sadness, depression. I don't know. I mean, as you know, in the United States, especially in big cities, people are very unhappy, and this is what I saw. Depression, personal depression, is very common. And they tend to use antidepressants. And most of the medicine has side effects and numbs the people's emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And all these things, all this chain, I think it is helping to reptilians.
Yeah. And also, if we compare the DNA or psychic of humans and reptilians, humans are close to their heart space, heart energy, their source, and the reptilians cannot use that. They are not
No.
creative, so they need to be the parasites of this
Yeah.
kind of energy.
Yeah. So the funny thing is that every nation, every culture, every society, every geography has a background related to reptilians. It is not only in Turkey, it is not only in Europe, in Africa there's lots of stories, there's lots of mythology.
Mm-hmm.
And you can find this in every culture.
So, going further with this kind of thinking,
Mm-hmm.
fighting against them actually feeds them. So the best way to conquer them is to open the heart, and this is something they don't like.
Okay, there are different ways to cut the connection.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think fighting is very difficult because we are not on the equal conditions. If our enemy or our rival or our counterpart, first of all, we cannot see them whenever we want to see them, but they can find and get contact with us whenever they want. So we are not in equal rights.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if they are enemies, where is the enemy?
Yeah.
We don't know.
It's not open battle.
Yeah, I mean, is it in astral dimension? Is it underground, physical, in the facilities, in UFO? Where are we going to find them? But for some reason, they can find us wherever we go.
Mm-hmm. They have very advanced technology because they live thousands of years and they have alien technology.
Contract. One of my friends from United States has been in many different contacts, and this is what he says. If you don't feed them with your energy, they leave you immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Because as long as you talk about them, which we have been doing all day.
Yeah, people need to be informed. So this is not feeding them.
Yeah.
This is
but
information.
Let's say that you have a personal contact,
Yeah.
and you completely close yourself to every other possibility and focus them. Of course, you are the perfect candidate.
Mm-hmm.
So he says that when you stop thinking about them, when you stop giving them credit, they immediately leave you. They look for another target. So yes, that's true. And also, there are long-time contracts, whole life contracts.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they visit some people, but after a while they leave it. But sometimes they don't. So I think every relationship, just like in human relationships, just like a marriage, just like a your relationship with your parents. Every relationship has an expiration date.
Mm-hmm.
Every relationship has an expiration date. Nothing is endless. You know, can you show me an endless marriage? Can you show me an endless mother-father children life? No, there isn't. I mean, in one point, we have to leave our loved ones.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if we are the loved ones by them, but it's obvious that we don't love them very much. But that relationship has an expiration date too. It finishes at one point. But I don't know how long does it take.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes 20 years, sometimes 30 years.
Max Pierce, one of the super soldiers from my lab, said that whatever happens now on Earth and before Earth on Mars is the continuation of the very, very long Star War.
Yeah. As you know, in Hindu legends such as Ramayana, Mahabharata, they already existed, and they describe it with details.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, wars between kings and kings, but wars between gods and gods, wars between kings and gods.
Mm-hmm.
So, multiple. Yeah, many. So, here is the thing. Comparing before, thanks to technology, thanks to internet technology, we are very much informed, and everything is so easy now. When I first started to do my own research many years ago, we didn't have computers. I would never ever imagine something like internet.
Mm-hmm.
I would never ever imagine having my cell phone camera every time I'm in videos, take this, download this, upload this. It was a dream. I mean, even when I was a university student, we didn't have computer at Istanbul University.
Yeah.
25, 30 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So everything is very fast and everything is very easy. Now, I think with the technology, we are very much informed and we are very much more intelligent than before.
Yep.
So you said something, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
We are learning a lot in time. You mentioned about a path that you followed, that I know it too, and you said that it was a waste of time.
Mm-hmm.
So now I know that it was a waste of time. So now we agree that it was a waste of time, but maybe 20 years ago you saw that as a solution. You saw that as a final truth. But no, there is no final truth. And that had an expiration date too. So there is no final truth. There are, how can I say,
Fractals.
temporary paths.
Okay.
Temporary paths. For a while, yes, we read this, we read that, and after a while, no, that's not the thing.
Mm-hmm. And this acceleration of knowledge, of growth, leads to another kind of manipulation, which is transhumanism. It's mixing humans and artificial intelligence.
Yes, I know. That's
Which is
a
the biggest
possibility.
threat.
Yeah, that's a possibility. Yes, that's a. This is something that we cannot control. Okay, global things we cannot control.
It's enforced by reptilians
Also, but we can control our own life.
Mm-hmm.
We can control what we want to know and what we don't want to know. I mean, our mind, our soul, our existence, it's like a house. Okay? So, do you open your door and invite everybody from the street?
No.
It's the same thing with mind. It's the same thing with your soul. I mean, we shouldn't open our doors and invite everybody, so
Mm-hmm.
it would cause a disaster.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to be very careful with our guests, here and here, in mind and in heart.
Yeah.
But I'm very happy to
But-
be a guest on your program.
But people are misinformed who is good guy and who is bad guy. Yeah?
Okay, I think now after so many experiences, because look, if we talk about UFOs, actually the main topic was UFOs today.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say that UFO issue started in 1947. Let's say.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, originally it started thousands of years ago, but in 20th century.
Mm-hmm.
So now we are in 21st century. 20th century ufology is outdated.
Yeah.
It's gone now.
It's history.
It's history. So on 21st century, we are living a completely different dimension. So I'm lucky because I experienced the 20th century and 21st century.
Mm-hmm.
That's wonderful. Because at the beginning when I was learning ufology, what I read has no value anymore. It is changing. There are so many fake cases, there are so many fake UFOs, and about Roswell UFO case, the famous Roswell alien autopsy was fake.
Yeah.
There are so many cases like this. So ufology is not the final solution.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I didn't want to show too many UFO photographs and too many UFO videos today.
Mm-hmm.
Because there are other things than UFOs. Yes, they exist too. Okay, I don't mind. But there are other things.
And besides, there are a lot of human-driven flying saucers.
Oh yes, human-made, obviously.
Yeah.
Obviously. I mean...
Americans
Yeah,
fly.
I mean, a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And imagine that actually the very first UFOs were built by Nazis in 1930s. And after the Second World War, lots of Nazi scientists were brought to the United States
To
under
Fort Bliss, Texas.
a paperclip project. And then UFO activity starts in the United States.
And what is more funny, those German officers got Vatican passports to cross the borders.
Yeah.
So Vatican was connected with Nazis and UFO stuff.
And also, this takes to us the esoteric, occult background of Nazi ideology.
Mm-hmm.
As it's a complete...
In the 20s, like
in
Vril,
the
Thule,
20s,
Annenerbe societies.
Yes, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Aldebaran connections and all these
Yeah.
things. Yeah.
And they believe that they come from
Sumerian,
Aldebaran.
Aldebaran. And they founded the Sumerian civilization. Aldebaran society founded the Sumerian civilization.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. We have Nazi, and what about the connection of Nazis with Turkey? Because the connection is really strong.
So in 1930s, as you know, Nazi scientists and high-rank military officers were very much interested in esotericism and occult and spiritualism. So basically they were visiting Tibet.
Yes.
And they were in contact with monks in order to get the hidden information. They were very much interested in India also, not only Tibet. So they came to Turkey too, because they were informed that there is an ancient UFO crash in Turkey on the mountains. And they came and they found it, and they took it away.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a crash case in Turkey, Turkish territory on the mountains, and they found the UFO, and it is said that when they found the UFO, it was crashed, it was, damaged,
Destroyed.
but it was still active, just like a vibration. There is something still active in it. And again, the report says that UFO wreck was there probably 60 years something. They didn't find it immediately.
Mm-hmm.
So the crash happened, but many decades passed, and 6 years later they came and found. So it was a machine. If it was a machine, if it was a motor, if it was a machine which works with the oil or gas or whatever, in 6 years it cannot go on.
Yeah, it was
has
like kind of free energy device.
Intelligent biological.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it was getting the energy from the earth. That's why it was still active, partly active. It wasn't possible to fly.
Mm-hmm. So they could use it. Also in Schwarzwald, there was a UFO crash in 1934. That's why.
I don't know that one.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And what do you know about the relationship between the Fourth Reich, which is now, and Illuminati? They work together or against? What do you think?
Well, I am following the society. What I see in today's society. Okay. Good thing is that I don't have a television in my home in the last 15 years.
It's disinformation anyway, so it's useless. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is my victory, not to have a television in my home, because it's a waste of time. And another thing is that, and now with the use of internet websites and internet television, because it is informative television, we don't have that box at home anymore. For instance, now you are making your program for internet, right? Website. So you don't have any limitations. You can reach everywhere.
Yes.
With a good internet connection. You have millions of people who can follow you. That isn't perfect.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. So, but again, sadly, I have to follow whatever it is happening in my country and in other parts. You know, what is now very popular on televisions all over the world? It is talent shows, idol shows, pop stars,
Yes.
everywhere.
Entertainment.
Yeah.
Emotions.
That
feeling.
pop star, this pop star, that idol, this idol. I'm afraid soon they are going to make a talent show in the graveyard. Who is the best corpse?
Yeah.
So there is a concept. There is a, let's say, that young talent show, and 4 or 3 famous stars of every country sits on the jury table, and a young girl and young boy comes and sings or dances or whatever. So this is copy paste all over the world.
Yes.
And they are given instructions saying that you have to have the same face impression like the original one, not your own face expression. You have to react, you have to laugh, you have to be surprised, you have to get angry just like they did. Okay? And the singer or the young talent, you have to sit there. You have to come where there is the cross mark on the stage. So everything is a copy. So there is a global, uniform lifestyle. Everybody is eating the same products. Everybody is acting as everybody. There is no original, authentic things. Everybody is drinking the same coffee product. Everybody is wearing the same brand clothes. Everybody is wearing the same brand name watches, whatever. So this is a total control.
Reptilian idea.
Reptilian idea.
And also hierarchy is also reptilian.
Yeah. One other thing before I finish. Today I didn't have time, and hopefully maybe in the future we can get together again. Interestingly, in Asia, Asian mythology, Asian traditions, there is lots of connections with reptilians, you know. So today I talked about Kappa in Japan,
Yes.
reptilians, but also in China and in Korean traditions, we see the reptilian background.
Dragons.
Everything. I mean, kings were the representative of dragons, first of all. But today, something is happening in South Korea. In South Korea, people want to look very beautiful, very attractive, physically perfect. And that's why they are getting amazing aesthetic surgeries, and they are changing their faces. If you see before and after faces in South Korean medical websites, completely 2 different people. So this is something emotional at the same time. People are changing themselves. They want to be somebody else. So I have been to South Korea, and I noticed that reptilian instinct still exists there, in many ways.
Mhm.
In many ways. So that obsessive aesthetic surgery needs comes from the reptilian mindset.
And also something like military is reptilian,
Yeah,
and fashion.
old fashion, of course. Brand names, I mean, expensive products, expensive handbags, expensive shoes, expensive house, expensive car, whatever.
Mhm.
So everything has to be value, money value. Everything has to be expensive, and you have to show it off.
Have you heard about super soldier programs?
Yeah, sure. But yeah, I mean,
It's also obviously reptilian because young children were tortured to be reprogrammed in the mind.
they create 3 or 4 personalities at the same time.
Stuart
Sometimes.
Sverlov says that even 2,900 something it's maximum, but obviously it's not possible to do so many programs in one mind.
So bipolar personality is very common,
Mhm.
and people think that sometimes it happened by itself, but maybe it didn't happen by itself.
It was programmed in the childhood.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in the childhood.
We mentioned a little bit that, but I'd like to elaborate on the ISIS cult around the world.
Yeah,
Uh,
goddess worshipping.
Goddess, yeah. Like the name of the country Israel,
Yeah.
Isis, Ra,
Ra,
and
Elohim.
Elohim,
Hello.
and Mother Mary, and the child is Isis, and
yeah,
Horus,
Horus, yeah.
and
It comes from Ubaid culture originally. Ubaid culture in Iraq is the reptilian culture, and the first depictions, first sculptures of Ubaid culture is a reptilian woman, half human, half reptilian, and having a baby in his arm. This is the first mother-son worshipping. And after that, Babylonia. After that, Egypt. And after that, as you know, Mother Mary.
And what is funny, you said it comes from Iraq.
Iraq.
Abraham also
Yeah.
comes from Iraq.
Yeah,
He was
of
not
course,
Jewish.
yes, of course.
There was
Yeah.
no such nation.
Yeah. So everything starts in Mesopotamia, which is today's Iraq. And also, I mean, what is happening today is, what is happening in Syria today has a very deep spiritual meaning.
Yeah.
It is not only
Also
economical-
sacrifices, cutting heads, this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And who does this? Who does this? ISIS, produced by Israel and United States.
Wow. So, I mean, I, living in Istanbul, of course, I have some Syrian friends. They came from Syria, and very bright, very intelligent, very talented people, writers, university teachers, university students. And they had to come, they had to survive. But one of my young friends, she's a young Syrian girl and studying English philology in Istanbul University. She says that we left everything, all our memories, all our photographs, all our personal items. I just get the handbag and I left. She escaped with her parents and with his brother. This is happening in Syria.
Mm-hmm.
And they had to escape first to Lebanon, and after that, and they survived.
Mm-hmm. And there is a lot of Egyptian symbology and names in United States, like
Alexandria, for instance, it's one of the cities. There's a city in Alexandria.
Yeah, like the river Mississippi, you have
Memphis,
East and
also,
city
yeah.
Memphis.
Memphis, yeah. There is a wonderful little town in Virginia which is called Alexandria.
Mm-hmm.
Alexandria, and Memphis is one of them. Yeah. Let me tell you this: Egyptian Egyptians has a reptilian connection too, obviously, because as you know, they were using a lot of snake symbolism, especially with pharaohs.
And feline symbology.
Yeah, of
The
course.
cat
Of
people.
course. And that DNA is very strong. So it didn't go away with pharaohs.
Mm-hmm.
It is not buried under the Sphinx. It is not buried under the pyramids. It is very active.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is very active.
Do you know Simon Parkes?
I heard about him, yeah.
Okay, 1/3 of his DNA is insectoid.
How did they find out? What kind of research they did?
He said that, and he said not a few. He repeats his story, repeated his story many times about his connections from the childhood.
Okay.
So, can you say something about those insectoids?
Well, okay. First of all, I mean
mantis.
praying mantis.
Yeah.
Praying mantis. Yes. I never had my personal experiences, but what I told about David Huggins, he knows about them very much. And again, about a hybrid DNA. So, people can claim these things, but how do they find out? Is there any medical report on this? Did they check their DNA? Because as you know, now it is very easy to find the tracks of your DNA. It is very easy to get the family tree and your DNA connections. So you just got a piece of tissue from your saliva and maybe $100, and they give you the complete DNA family tree. So, did they do such a thing?
I don't know. He told the memories from his childhood.
Yeah. So, I mean, personally, I would like to try that kind of a research first, and to see who is coming from where, and after that, to speak about it.
Okay, and also
because it is possible to do that now. It is not very difficult.
Yeah. Also, his knowledge is very wide, advanced about those kind of stuff, and it is very close to the knowledge of other people who encountered stuff.
So it's a confirmation
with
others.
Again, let's go back to Illuminati and Fourth Reich, because we didn't finish that topic. What do you think about the New World Order, and who is behind enslaving the world, and who wants the status quo?
Okay, so we have been, myself, you, and our colleagues, and so many people on this path. We have been trying to wake the people up, saying that, look, you are doing this, but you are serving to a huge web. And please wake up and come listen to us. And they say, you know what, I'm so happy like this. I don't want to change anything.
I want to sleep.
I want to sleep.
Sleep on.
So, very simple. I have so many students from 9 years old, also teaching adults, 25, 30 years old, young people, as Spanish. So, this is my personal choice. I'm not a smoker. I don't smoke cigarette or any that kind of tobacco products. But especially in Turkey, young generation starts to smoke and drink very young age. And chain smokers, 22 years old chain smoker, they are consuming 4 packages of cigarettes in a day. And with my students, I'm so surprised. When did you get an adult, and how did you be in habits? Addiction, you cannot get rid of that. And one of the girls, I asked them, why you are doing this? I always see you with the cigarette. She says, oh, because I'm against all this system, the cerebral, whatever. I said, yes, but you know what? You are serving the system, giving your money. How much money you are spending to those corporates, huge tobacco factories, cigarette factories. To me, there is no difference between the cigarette manufacturing and weapons. It is the same thing. So I said, yes, you are giving your money to make them rich and richer, and meanwhile, you are destroying your body. I mean, your body and your health is your wealth. And again, in Turkey, they have an obsession in order to use the imported cigarettes. It's not the local brands, but expensive cigarettes. So, is this your rebellion? What are you going to change with this? She said, oh yes, now I understand. So, but we cannot speak one by one with everybody. So, as long as people cannot change their life habits, of course there will be global powers to use them. Using the television programs, using the brand names, using expensive cars, using television shows. I'm thinking that when we talk about these topics, first of all, we have to have a goal and find a solution for something. Now, I think in all over the world, the first thing must be to awake the people, because they are burning themselves in many ways. And another thing, our spiritual topics sometimes can be a double-edged sword.
Yes. Actually, the religions are making people stop their development, or not only slowing down but reversing their development in many cases. I mean the global religions, like the Roman Empire by itself slowed the development of Europe.
Yeah.
By enslaving.
Sadly, Roman Empire was one of the most dangerous societies and very violent, very cruel,
still continues.
incredible, and it's still continuing. And sadly, they were very active on Turkish land. And we have so many Roman antique cities, and we still find the skeletons of the gladiators in Turkey. Can you imagine? Because there were many gladiator schools in Turkey, in Turkish land. And slavery, of course, their basic thing. And imagine a society that throws the innocent people to the lions in order to get more blood to feed the reptilians. So more blood, more reptilians, more power. Talking about the Hittites again, I said that they weren't interested in the men on the street. They were interested in the kings, the strong people, the rulers of the society, the leaders, the politicians. And nothing has changed. Slavery didn't end. Slavery is existing. Roman Empire didn't finish.
Okay, so it looks like the slavery period lasts for a few thousands of years, but before that, people had advanced technology.
Long before that. I mean, Atlantis, Mu times.
Yeah. Do you know about the yugas? Kali Yuga, Dwapara Yuga?
Yeah.
And it matches a lot.
Yeah.
Like 3,000-4,000 years was very dark period.
Yeah.
Now we are going up. Maybe.
Slowly.
And then we'll go to Satya Yuga.
Hopefully.
By itself, because of the rotation of the galaxy.
Yeah. Also, we have to think about that human race has a communal karma.
Yes.
As an earth. So some things that we have to experience. Without experiencing them, really we cannot learn.
And these yugas might be connected, because I researched that a little, with the cycle of Sun and Sirius, the double star.
Yeah. We are very much connected to Sirius, obviously.
Okay, I think most of the topics, we covered most of the topics. Maybe some wrap-up or conclusion?
Well, again, so this is a path, you know what? We researchers on this topic, sometimes we are very lonely, because loneliness is a requirement in order to be free.
Yes.
So, being lonely is sometimes very good because it makes you independent. And if you are not free, if you are not independent, you cannot be on these topics. So in order to find some solutions, in order to find some light, people like me, you investigators, we have to be completely free physically, mentally, and spiritually. This is my, how can I say, message.
Yeah, 3 levels.
Yeah. Physically, spiritually, and mentally freedom. So, because slavery is not only Roman style slavery, you have chains, whatever. Now, there are so many slaves in the society. Yes, they live in expensive houses, they drive expensive cars, they have wonderful luxury life, but they are slaves. That kind of slavery. So, I mean, Jesus Christ says that if you are poor, you are independent, you are free. That's correct. Now, I'm not inviting you to be poor, of course, financially. We need some basics in order to function in this world. But addictions, there are so many addictions. Shopping addiction, credit card addiction, eating addiction, drinking addiction. These are the slavery.
Thank you a lot.
Oh, thanks to you. Thanks to you. I appreciate it with all my heart. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.